I just went to the website for my software company, the company I built from the ground up, and the website is not working. In fact, the website has been down for over 2 months. This is the story that needs to be told. A warning, if you will, of what can happen to your company after you build and then sell it. Oh, and I sold my business for $1.8 million. So the fact that they are just letting this business die is insane to me. Let me take you back and give you some context, and then I'll explain exactly what is happening here. You see, way back in 2011, I came up with a faster and an easier way to do keyword research for SEO. I created a company called Longtail Pro. At the time, I was doing tons of keyword research and built dozens of different websites targeting long-tail, low-competition keywords. I could see the competitors like Market Samurai at the time were okay, but not great. As someone in the weeds doing keyword research each day, I needed a faster way to find lots of keywords quickly. And better yet, if there was a tool that would score the competitiveness of the keywords, that would be even better. I couldn't find a software tool that met my needs, so I hired a developer and had the product built. I started selling the product however I could. My blog, email list, the Warrior Forum, JV Zoo, affiliates, and generally just hustled to grow the business. As it turns out, tons of other people loved my idea. From 2011 to 2016, I was hustling and working on Longtail Pro, hiring developers, building features, marketing the product, and hoping to make customers happy. By 2016, I was netting over $50,000 a month after all expenses, pure profit. After 5 years of running the business, I had new business ideas I wanted to pursue, and I felt like it was time to sell. I put the word out that I was potentially looking to sell, and I had plenty of interest. A small private equity group called Wired Investors ended up buying Longtail Pro in 2016 for $1.8 million. This was more money than I had ever seen at once, and it was definitely life-changing for me. I wanted Longtail Pro to continue doing well, though, so I worked with Wired Investors in continuing to promote the software and help wherever I could for the next year. Wired Investors actually did a great job with the software product. They did tons of development and added new features. Oh, and I should mention that I held on to a small piece of the company because I believed in its future. After owning the company for a couple of years, Wired Investors decided to sell Longtail Pro again at the end of 2018. Why they sold is a whole other story, but essentially they had gotten too big too quickly. They'd acquired over 20 companies in a period of 2 years, and they decided to liquidate all their assets and dissolve the Wired Investors business. So at the end of 2018, Wired Investors sold Longtail Pro to another company. That's when things really started going downhill. This new company had set their sights on acquiring multiple businesses and eventually growing enough so that they could go public. The owner of the company seemed to be more excited about the prospect of going public than actually growing the businesses he acquired. The leadership team was bloated. He had management layers where no real management was required. No one was ever really put in charge of growing and maintaining Longtail Pro. Within 12 months of Longtail Pro being acquired a second time, it was obvious that the new owner didn't really know how to manage a business effectively. I even reached out and did multiple consulting calls to tell him exactly what I would do to grow the business. He never followed any of my advice. Instead, Longtail Pro was essentially left on a deserted island by itself, while the new owner just hoped it would somehow get rescued on its own. Sales started to decrease, and it felt like no one cared. The new founder wasn't really involved in the business. Instead, he had a team in place to handle everything, but they were all just low-level employees without much direction. Wired Investors had taken on seller financing, and so they were still owed money. And not just a small amount of money, but multiple six figures. The new buyer couldn't make payments because not only was Longtail Pro not performing well, but every single other business he had acquired was also failing. I don't know all the details, but I suspect the same mismanagement principles were applied to all the other businesses as well. Unfortunately for me, I still own a very small piece of Longtail Pro. It's not much, but it's enough that I'm still kept up to date with the business to a certain extent. I'm probably still owed about $10,000 or $15,000 at this point, but honestly, I don't quite remember after all these years. It's now been 8 years since I sold Longtail Pro and about 5 years since Wired Investors sold the business to its current owner. One of the things that breaks my heart the most about this whole ordeal is that current and former customers have nowhere to turn. They reach out to Longtail Pro's support desk and they get no response. Sometimes people reach out to me and ask for support with Longtail Pro, even though I haven't been involved in the business for 8 years. All I can do is copy the new owner on an email with the customer and ask him to please provide assistance. From what I've heard, he never helps the customers though. It's truly heartbreaking. Now when you go to the website, this is all you see. It doesn't even work. From my understanding, the new owner can no longer afford the hosting bill. Again, I don't know all the details, but I do know he owes multiple people money, and apparently that now includes the hosting company. I feel terrible, and I wish there was more I could do, but the situation is truly out of my hands. The current owner is unable to make payments on the seller financing part of the deal that he closed 5 years ago. The final payments were due at least 3 years ago, and he's been unable to make payments since then. Now attorneys are getting involved and legal proceedings are happening. I have no idea how this story will end and who will end up actually owning Longtail Pro. However, I highly doubt it will be the current owner. Wired Investors may get the assets back in lieu of getting the seller financing portion of the funds that they are still owed. Or there could be a fire sale of Longtail Pro in the amount that is currently owed to pay off the debts. All I know is that right now it's pretty messy and I have no idea if someone will revive Longtail Pro or if it's truly dead. And you know what's crazy about all of this is that other small keyword research tools are actually doing great. I don't know if these other tools have just come in and taken market share from Longtail Pro, but I have to wonder what would have happened if Longtail Pro had been managed properly. I can think of 3 small upstart keyword research tools that are all doing fairly decent from what I've heard. For example, KeySearch is a fairly established keyword research tool at this point, and I know that it's doing extremely well. And with it being priced at just $17 a month, it targets the same audience that Longtail Pro used to thrive on. Another small keyword tool that is doing well is Keyword Chef. Ben Adler is the founder there, and it's been super cool to see what he's been able to build. Not only does he do all the marketing and sales, but he's also the developer that built it initially. And finally, another keyword research tool doing well is Low Fruits. So there appears to be an active and healthy market for keyword research tools. I've been on the inside and can tell you with 100% certainty that the reason Longtail Pro has died is through mismanagement. Someone spent 7 figures on the business and essentially let it die a slow and painful death. It hurts. I would love to see Longtail Pro thrive again. However, from my perspective, I don't know if that will ever happen. I can't believe they killed my startup.